Welcome to Week 8. Week 8 is a continuation of our discussions and readings in Week 7 regarding marketing. And there's only one assignment here, but so what I'm going to do is go through the details of it so that you've got a running start and things to look at. So here's the discussion questions. Now these are fairly straightforward, but I just want to point out a couple things. Number one, the first one, and I broke these up as you should when you lay your questions out in a question-answer format. Remember, the questions in bold, your answer following. And so the first one is, what steps do companies generally take to develop and introduce a new product? Now, sometimes, and I've had classes where people would question whether marketing is involved in this, and the short answer is that they should be, but they may not be. And by should, I mean marketing is the one that's supposed to understand the target market. So remember, this is not just a process, this is a means to an end. So when you develop a product, you're developing a product for a specific target market with specific characteristics, with specific need requirements and behavioral requirements, whether it's B2B, a business market, or a B2C, business to consumer or a retail market. And this would be true of, in a general sense, tangible or physical products or services. Just the development time would be much less than a service. But at any rate, it's a means to an end. So we're trying to understand what kind of product will give us a competitive advantage, or it can take advantage of the internal advantages of our organization in order to compete and win in a given area, whatever that might be. And I'm really simplifying this, so you have to understand this is an introduction to this idea. But the steps, the first step I'll give you is idea generation, and that could come from a million places, from customers to competitors to suppliers to salespeople to internal to external market surveys. We should have our finger, as leadership, our finger on the pulse of the market and where it's headed. And remember, whenever we're talking about developing strategy or anything else, we're trying to look into the future, and this is a very difficult thing to do accurately. So we're trying to anticipate things, because time to market matters, meaning how quick can you develop a new product and get it into the pipeline. So, but as you look at that, I would state what you're using as an example. So if it's a tangible product, stick to tangible, because services wouldn't give you a chance to explain the other ones, but the other parts. But take a look at each of those, and that should be an interesting answer to that question. So what's product lifecycle, or PLC? It's an analytical tool. Remember, the product lifecycle, as it's shown in the text or in most places, is sort of an idealized curve. In fact, it might be a spike. If it's a fad or a fashion, it could be here today, gone tomorrow. So you never really know the duration of a product lifecycle: introduction, growth, maturity, decline. But it is helpful to use in making decisions along the way, especially during the introductory phase. Now again, this is going to be dependent upon a host of other variables. How does the product lifecycle affect its marketing strategy? Well, I'll give you one. In the introductory phase, typically we're going to want to be more aggressively advertising or market communication, because we could have the best thing out there, but if nobody knows about it, it's going to be difficult for them to evaluate and choose us. So that's one thing to consider. But there are others, and it's detailed nicely for you. Fourth question, distinguish between the two ways to set base price for a new product. And there's lots of ways to do this, but there's kind of traditional ways. But understand, price is a reflection of the value proposition and the position that you want the target market to evaluate your product. So if it's a premium product meant for a premium market, a prestige market, if you will, the price points bases are going to be higher, regardless of our cost structure. Costs always matter, but what the customer is willing to pay and what their expectations are matters even more. So that's something to consider when you look at that fourth question. And then the last one, how can businesses utilize new digital and social networking channels in their marketing campaigns? It's really limited to your imagination. There's not only the communication side, but there's also the distribution side or place side. Because some products, some services can be delivered digitally, and that's the perfect environment. But communication is probably the biggest one, but highly able to target accurately. That's one of the advantages of social networks and digital means. So that should get you rolling. Look forward to reading your answers and your thoughts. If you need help, please let me know.